Welcome to Finding Certainty with your host and U.S. Army veteran, Patrick Laing. Over the next hour, you'll learn from Patrick and his expert guests how to attract more certainty into your business and your life. Now, here is your host, Patrick Laing.
Welcome to Finding Certainty, everybody. I'm here with my good friend, Huyen Do of DROX Investment Group. Any of you out there who are interested in diversifying your investments, possibly looking into real estate, Huyen is one of the best in the business. So thanks for being here, Huyen. Really appreciate you taking some time to be on the show today.
Thank you, Patrick, for having me. It's exciting, and it's going to be a fun show. It's going to be killer. Thanks
Absolutely.
for having me here.
We're going to have a good time. Interesting story. Huyen and I met in the middle of a hurricane down in Orlando. We were at a conference together as part of Bill Walsh's Rainmaker Summit. And Huyen is part of his, what he calls his 9-figure club. And I really enjoyed meeting you, Huyen. We got to chat a little bit, told me a little bit about your story. Huyen was one of the speakers at the event. And it was just ironic that we did it in the middle of Hurricane Ian.
It was. People was telling me I was crazy. Why are you going towards the eye of the hurricane, not away from it? But you know what? It's destiny, right? Because of that, that's how I met you here, right?
That's Patrick. Right. Yeah, everybody told me the same thing. They thought we were kind of nuts to be flying toward Orlando right before the hurricane was going to hit. But hey, when you got to be somewhere, you got to be somewhere. So I'm really glad we met you. Met some really great people there at the event, and it was just a fantastic weekend, even though the palm trees were pointing sideways the whole time, right?
Exactly, and things were flying. But yes, we were very lucky that we were alive.
Well, I was impressed. The electricity never went out. I mean, we were with Hilton and the DoubleTree in there, and they did a great job keeping everybody fed, keeping the lights on, and so forth. So anyway, here on Finding Certainty, we bring guests on from a variety of different backgrounds who really are fulfilling our mantra, our platform, if you will, of creating more certainty in the lives of their clients, their friends and family, and the communities in which they reside. And that's why Huyen's here, because she's doing exactly that through their investment group. And I thought you all would be very interested in hearing from her. Now, we typically mention a couple of reasons why we've invited her to be on. And the first is exactly that. It's that she is a phenomenal story of an American success story of an immigrant family who relocated here from Vietnam. And we're going to talk a little bit about that story because it's extraordinary. And then has built up from the ground up a very successful multi-million-dollar business. And I think she can teach us lessons that everyone on this call can learn from. Secondly, Huyen travels all over the country speaking about what she does. She's a very accomplished entrepreneur and speaker. And she can teach some lessons, not only of how they've created their success story, but also how to create a successful life. She has some insights that I think you'll really enjoy, everybody. They can benefit you in your personal life, your business, your professional life, whether you're a for-profit, a nonprofit. Just some really fascinating insights that I think all of us can benefit from. So Huyen, thank you for being here. That's my
pleasure, and I'm excited too. Yes.
Yeah, that's my 2 bits on why Huyen is here, and you say her name just like a window, like a door and window, and. If you don't mind, why don't we start out by talking a little bit about your backstory? You came here from Vietnam when you were 10 years old, escaped the Vietnam War. Your dad fought for the Democratic Army, right? Was fighting the communists. And so it did not make him popular when the war was over. And they suppressed anyone who had been on that side of the fence. And I mean, wasn't your dad even in a concentration camp for a while, or at least a prison of war camp?
Yes, he was. Yes. And so I was born in Vietnam, and exactly what Patrick was saying, my dad was the veteran in the Democratic army. And of course, in the fall of Saigon, we lost. And of course, whoever's in the army, the communists were suppressed by that. So when I was born, my dad was in a concentration camp. And then after that, we were born into poverty. And my parents, they saying, what can they do? But they need to take massive risk in order for, their children to have a better world. So, and this journey, many of you guys may have heard of the Vietnamese immigrant, the boat people. We went through all that, and thousands of people died. But we were very, the lucky ones that actually able to escape. And, there were many times that my parents trying to escape, maybe, 20 plus sometime, they will always get caught. And then when you get caught, you coming back with they're going to put you in prison and then they come you out. So we were among the lucky one after, I don't know how many trials. So we came to America from and thank you to this is the land of opportunity, and thank you to America, open arms to welcome us in here.
Right.
Yep.
You went to the Philippines at first, right? You were in the Philippines for 2 years before you finally had an opportunity to come to the U.S.
Yes.
And do you have memories of the Philippines at all? I mean, you were 10 when you got here. Right?
Not as much as all, but I know I don't remember much on the Philippines. But what I remember when I first came here was I didn't even know any English because we're part of in the village ourselves, right? And there were, not talking about learning about English, but just trying to survive. There were many days that we did not have any food. So when we came to America, I remember exactly. It's like they told me not to eat too much or else you can almost, because for us, food is like heaven, right? And not knowing any English as well. So even the word hello, I didn't even know. So I know what I remember exactly when I came here. I think they put me into 5th grade, and the teacher thought I was deaf for the first whole week because, my name is not a very easy name to pronounce. It's a Huyen and Do or something. And then so I didn't register that was my name. And secondly, my vision, and, at that time when you're poor, you don't have, glasses, right? So when she speak, I remember her very vividly. Her name is Mrs. Brown. She called me for the whole entire week. I didn't respond. So they gave me, they brought me into the nurse to say, check her out because she has a hearing problem or something. Just because of that whole story, didn't know the one word of English, didn't even, very completely shy, just the whole culture shock as well. But we just have to overcome that. And just has always been a grateful journey that I have been going through. Yep.
Right. It's interesting because I have a sort of a similar experience. It's not nearly as dramatic as yours, but when I was 5, my parents moved to New Zealand, and it was culture shock, right? At least they spoke English, so I understood. A little bit of a different accent, but but at least I understood what they were saying. But I was still petrified, right? As a little kid, my first day in school. In fact, my parents tell this funny story of sending me to school with blue jeans and cowboy boots on, and my little shirt and my backpack. And I got sent home that day with a note pinned to my shirt that said, "Please refrain from sending your son with blue jeans and cowboy boots. He should wear shorts and sandals to school here."
Wow.
And, I was so little, but I remember the same thing the whole day, not saying anything because I was so nervous. And I can't even imagine doing that in a language you don't understand as well.
No, I cannot. Yes. And but because of that, it just showed, it teach a lot of life lesson very early age as well.
Absolutely.
And secondly, when we came to America, it's not just, now is America a land of opportunity. It's now, American dream. Now you're living in a very nice place as well. We're living in a, house, government housing and then food stamps. So very, in Houston. So whenever we landed, we've been living in Houston ever since. But those apartments, I would say, is one of the highest crime in Houston. And what I also share with those is, we got robbed into our house twice, right? And we didn't have anything, but people still come and rob us. And then one point, they took everything, including my candies at that time,
Wow.
And I think 2 days later, I was running outside. I was a young kid and probably like 12 or 13-year-old at that time after 2 or 3 years in America. I was playing with, another, young kid like 2 or 3 years old, my next door neighbor. And then he was eating one of my favorite candy. And I was like, oh, hey, how do you eat that? And, I didn't know you like that candy as well. I like it too. And he was like, oh, I got it from your house. And I was like, how? How do you get it from my house? That was, after 2 days after we got robbed. He was like, oh, my whole family came to your house and moved all the stuff. And I saw this jar of candy and I took it as well. Yeah, just to show you, it was just, living in also constant fear as well. Yeah. And it was the whole yard thing.
Yeah. So when you came to the States, I think there's a lot of different opinions about immigration, and obviously there's divided viewpoints and so forth. But I've always been of the ilk that this is the land of opportunity. This is a melting pot. It's the greatest nation on earth. And yet so many of us who haven't gone through that experience, I don't think they truly comprehend what it feels like to be in America. Even in the worst neighborhood, even with crime around you. I mean, how did it feel being in the land of opportunity, even as a child?
Yes. Even I know as so many people saying, this in United States is one of the worst country. They can take advantage as much, but you can see why all the immigrants are pouring in here. Because to us, even if the worst crime in the neighborhood, we got robbed, but we know there's still opportunity. And that is the key thing, is because other country, even if you can live, I mean, there's no tomorrow. Let's just put it that way. But here, it's the decision that you make. And this is where I truly appreciate, democracy is a decision. You have that freedom. Either you can live in fear, either you can make a decision not to go to work or stay at home all the time and continue what you want to do. Or you can make a decision to say, I need to break away from this cycle. I need to think about the future. And that's where I truly appreciate, with gratitude of this, the United States, because my parents, they can also make a decision, say, okay, we left the country, Vietnam to escape. And then now we live in poverty. Again, where, people discriminate against us, robbing us. And there was one time we even got gunpoint. But we say, no, this is still a better land because of that democracy and that decision. And so I just want to share with you, with that immigrants, because the people that are already making that decision to leave their homeland to find a better opportunity, they are already here. And that's just where that's all about the decision, what they want to make and the choice in their life.
Right. And obviously we hear horror stories of people coming to the country with malintent and they're bringing crime and so forth. But I really think that those are the exception to the rule. They might get a lot of press in the news, but I believe the vast majority of people coming here are coming here like your family did because they want to make a life for themselves. They want to make something better. And, it's interesting you talk about opportunity because in many countries, it is just about survival. You said there's no tomorrow, right? You're just trying to get through today. You can't even look forward to a brighter day in the future. But here, opportunity is all around us. We can make of it what we want, which you've obviously done. And so a really interesting conversation. I mean, we could have a whole show just on that one topic, right?
Exactly. I'm truly passionate about it because this is the land of opportunity. Yes. And you got to seize the land of opportunity. Don't be feared by it. Yep.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can't be afraid of it. Whether, and to be true, whether you're an immigrant or whether you grew up here.
Exactly.
Right? The question is, what do you do with it? Because there's two different mindsets, right? There's the abundance mindset and the scarcity mindset.
Exactly.
A scarcity mindset says there's only so much to go around. If we cut this pie in half, we're only going to get a certain piece. But if you truly understand the limitless opportunity here and you have that abundance mindset, it's like love, right? It's like when we have a child, we don't divide our love between our children and have less for this child number 2 and less for child number 3. And, I have 5 children. I'm speaking from experience, right?
Yes.
You love that next child as much, if not even more than the first one. And you get better and better at parenting them. And so it's this, parenthood is a great example, I think, of abundance and love for those children is another example. But again, it comes down to what you do with it, right? You can be a good parent or a bad parent. You can take advantage of that or waste that opportunity, or you can truly amplify it and make it into just a...
Exactly. I really want to echo that is, do what you actually have. I mean, many of us have patience, right? Many of us has perseverance. It's not about how much you have. It's not how much money you have, but it's what you have, right? You can have, and then, some people may not have patience, but you have patience, you have love, you have kindness. And this is where, like you mentioned, is where we want to make an impact life and making the world better is on what you have. And that is very important to me. It's not how much you have. And because the world anyone has their own skill set, but you have to work on it. You have to share and willing to speak up and willing to use what you have there in order to make not only your life, but life around you. Like you're saying, you're using the parents of your kids and people in your community. That's very important.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to go to break here. We're up on our first break. And if you're listening in, we're talking with Huyen Do, who's a partner in DROX Investment Group, very successful real estate investment group out of Houston, Texas. So, Huyen, thanks for being here with us. We're going to go to break real quick, guys. We'll be right back and continue the conversation. We're going to get into a little bit more of her background and how she went from young child who had just immigrated here to the U.S., didn't speak any English, to one of the worst neighborhoods in Houston, to one of the most successful real estate investors in the city, and lots more to come. So we'll be right back, folks. Thanks.
Have you friended us on Facebook yet? Why not? Just go to facebook.com/Voice America or search for the keywords Voice America. Once you are part of our Facebook network, you'll receive daily messages about what's happening with our shows, this week's featured guests, and new happenings at the Voice America Talk Radio Network. And you can add your voice to the always active discussions on our timeline. Just go to facebook.com/Voice America or search for Voice America.
Certainty Management can help create more certainty in your life with our deep discount health insurance options, even for 1099s, part-time employees, volunteers, and more. Pay less to protect yourself, your loved ones, and your team. Call 888-684-3122 for a free quote today. That's 888-684-3122. Visit us on the web at CertaintyTeam.com. That's Certainty, TEAM, like Mary.com.
Get the news on our shows and other happenings by following us on Twitter. Find us at Voice America TRN or twitter.com/Voice America TRN.
If you're a nonprofit in need of funding, we can help. Certainty Management is a cost reduction firm that also helps churches, schools, sports teams, and other nonprofits raise unlimited zero-cost funding. Best of all, you don't have to sell anything or ask for donations. Call 888-684-3122 to learn more today. That's 888-684-3122. Visit us on the web at CertaintyTeam.com. That's Certainty, TEAM, like Mary.com.
You're listening to Finding Certainty with Patrick Laing. Have a question for Patrick or his guests? Join us on the show at 866-472-5790. That's 866-472-5790. Now, back to the show with Patrick.
So you're back with Finding Certainty, Patrick Laing, and Huyen Do, who's one of the partners in DROX Investment Group. So Now you are partnered with your husband in DROX, right, Donnie?
Yes.
And you two have been together how long now? About 15 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, Donnie is my husband. We've been married for 15 years. We married in July 7, 2007. So this year is 15 years anniversary for us. Yes, and of course, before we did not just, when we married, we started this investment group or your real estate. Just to give you a little background about that, Patrick. So I'm a chemical engineer. Graduate from University of Houston. As you don't know, just always been in Houston. I consider myself a Houstonian. And that's why I met Donnie as well. We are both U of H alumni. So he's an accountant and I'm an engineer. A lot of, so we've been working in corporate world for the last 15 years. And but real estate was always in my, I'm really, truly passionate about it. So even though as a chemical engineer, I work in the corporate America. So Donnie and I'm also a realtor, got my license 15 years ago. And we always love passive income. It's not just starting after we got married, but just a little side story. When we were in college together, we actually, while we're dating, we say, okay, we need some more money, right? In order to go movies, food in college, right? Poor college students, but we just, our parents were like, you need to focus in school and they don't want us to take a second job only during the summer, like co-op. So we started an ATM business together and just a small ATM machine. This was back in 2001. I don't know how we did it, but we had an ATM and it's a good like $50 a week passive income. We just put some money in there and then, ATM machine. We were the ATM machine. We just started off with $500, Donnie and myself. But it was a good passive income during that time. We didn't think much about it, but it was just helping us out with our, lunches, right? So after we got married, I guess we said, okay, we would like to continue having the passive income. So we started owning single home family, rental it out. We did Airbnb. And for the last 15 years, we grow our single home family alongside with our corporate world. I've been working in the oil and gas industry. That is the Houston known for top Fortune 500 companies, moving up my corporate ladders. Donnie is an accountant. So he's also working in corporate world and moving up his ladder. But we saw that, and then we having two kids. We have two daughters. And we are alcoholic or workaholic, workaholic, because it's just, like I say, we learn, we say, okay, we have to work in order to earn money for our kids, right? And our kids were like always one of those last kids in the daycare to be picked up 6:30. Sometime I have to rush out my meeting and just to be there at 6:30 to pick up the kids. And it got to the point that we saying, and I remember this, Donnie and I myself say, is this where we want our life to be, right? Our kid was always came home. We were very stressed out. It was like 7 p.m. by the time we get home. Dinner was not ready, right? That's when you start cooking dinners. And so we're like, okay, God give us the opportunity. Why are we got burned out and we need to live life because we only have one life. And family is always the highest priority for us. If we saying that, then we need to act on it. So Donnie, we decided that 7 years ago that Donnie to quit his job and starting his own business. So I was still working my corporate world. Donnie started his business in a restaurant. So 7 years ago, we expanded to have 3 restaurants there. But with the mindset is we still working. Yes. He owns a business. He has a little bit more time, to pick up the kids or watching the kids. But it's still you working for money. It's not truly passive or having your money work for you. And that was our goal. Is it's the realization is the relationship with money. First, a lot of us are fear of money. Seriously, we want to make money, but we fear. Like if the stock market go down. We just somehow close our eye and just hoping, wishing that, okay, it doesn't hurt our portfolio, right? And then the next day you open, it's all red. But that should not be the relationship like that with the money. You should make the money work for you. So we went to, and, we have many rental single home family, but we're saying we're still a landlord. How can we be passive? Because they still calling us to, change the toilet, things like that. And this is when 2020. And this is the pivot moment where we're saying, what can we do in order to have more time? Because I was staying at home and I see, it's just an eye-opening for us to say, life is more than this. Life is more than just working, 40, 50 hours a day and coming home. So we went through this mentoring group, and this is how we learn about multifamily. And when it hits us, it's just so much benefit. It's not, the main benefit is now it's a passive income that, when we present it to other busy professional where they saying, you want to make additional income, we're not telling them go and get a second job or go find another job, right? This is about making money work for you. And then secondly is, this I can share with you a lot more on the benefit side, but I will hold it off on why we're just so passionate about to educate more people and, how multifamily has changed our life and also, not just our life, but our whole family's life and others, how it impacts other lives as well.
Right. Well, you've said a couple of things that jumped out at me. Mm-hmm. And one of those was that you asked yourself, is this the life we want to live? And I think that's a really important question for anyone, whether they're an entrepreneur, an employee, self-employed, for-profit, nonprofit, it doesn't matter, but we need to continually ask ourselves, am I happy where I am? Is this the life I want to be living? And if not, what are we going to do about it, right? We need to keep looking at that. Now, you talked about how family is the most important thing, the biggest priority for you, but then you asked yourself an honest question, which sometimes is hard to do, right? You said, if family is truly our biggest priority, do you see that evidenced in our life? Are we really living up to that? And that you had to answer the question no, right? Because your careers were so demanding. You had the restaurants and you had all these other things. Now, there's nothing wrong with working hard. Hard work is good for you. I think it does the body good. But I really like your question where you kept asking, how do we make this passive? Because quality of life is usually not just about money, but it's about time, right? It's about having that free time to spend with our loved ones and traveling and pursuits that are of interest to us. We need to constantly ask ourselves, how can we create more quality of life, not just quantity? How can we create more time, not just money? Hopefully we can have both, right? I mean, anybody can go sit on a beach and, quit their job and have plenty of time, but you got to have that balance between the two. And you've done a good job of that. Just from our conversations, I think it's really interesting, So you started out as a realtor. I love your ATM story because I was an entrepreneur even in college where I did side gigs and tried network marketing and tried other things, trying to just supplement my income. But in your very first house, you said was your own house that you purchased, and then you started purchasing rentals, and then you're comment about having to fix the toilets in the middle of the night and so forth and so on. I can totally resonate there. I've been there before. And so how did you transition? And I guess when we're talking about passive income, how is it different today? What do you do today that has created that passive income for you? You talked about multi-family properties, but I know there's more to it. You also have property managers that manage those properties, right? You have an investment pool that you're helping other investors to follow in your footsteps and do that. But let's jump into that a little bit before our next break. How has it evolved? I guess is my question. Where are you at today, and how did you get there?
Okay, great. Thank you, Patrick. So just high level today, it's been 2 years, wonderful years journey. But we went through, a couple single home family to 5 or 6. And then now we have 2,000 units in the Texas area, and the value is over $280 million in assets value.
Incredible.
So it's it is, if you talked to me 3 years ago, I would not going to saying, are you crazy, Huyen, right? Yeah, you cannot believe it. But I truly passionate about it because we find it was very scary. And I just, it's not an easy journey because we're saying, because when you're looking at apartments, right, we've been always driving by, and Donnie and myself, we're like, who actually own those apartments? We're always thinking like institutional, BlackRocks. How can us normal people own them? And when we went through this mentoring group, that's how we learned it's actually syndication. Syndication is just another way of all the investors pour in their money together to buying a project. And then here is a real estate. And this syndication is actually not new. Christopher Columbus, his voyage is a syndication, right? He got from many very wealthy individual and funded him, right? The Empire State Buildings was syndication. I'm just throwing things out there. So here is what we find is where busy professional like us, we put it ourselves to saying we want to invest in real estate. We want to be passive because many busy professionals they know what they are successful in their own field, but they want to have that additional passive income. So, for example, if someone that has $100,000, that's not their emergency money, but they've been investing in stocks, but they just don't want to be in stocks, something in real hard asset, and know exactly where that apartment is at, not REIT. We providing that opportunity. And from that opportunity, there's four main benefits. That's why Donnie and myself truly love about it is he's an accountant by background, and we've been working, and we say paying so much taxes. And I was sharing you this earlier before the show, Patrick. We just we just finished filing our tax in 2021. We paid close to zero in taxes. Because of real estate. It's a tax saving benefits, guys. And it's true for us. We thought, how can we legally not paying taxes? So real estate giving you that bonus depreciation. And then secondly is high returns, leverage, because you can leverage on each other so that you can buy economy of scale. And where we love about is why it's passive is because now it's in the economy of scale. It's 100 units, right? 200 units, 300 units. We own we work with a property management where they manage the whole entire complex for us. So the tenant doesn't call me, right? The tenant doesn't call Donnie to say, my AC is brick. But we have a property management that manage everything for us. We have a CPA because of all the economy of scale now. We actually more freely and I have already, taking a pause on my W-2 jobs, not working there, and then spending more time with my family, not only my kids, but also my mom, because she's also not doing well right now in her ill. So because of this multi-family, it provides me income. We have a quality distributions that we have in, and secondly, still get income and providing that money return back to our investors. But not only that, Patrick. Second thing is about the community that we provide impact. How we different from our institution is we the owners now. We help manage that, and we providing a better community by providing, like, for example, because if the tenant, when they live in the community, when it's clean and they feel safe, it's happier and it's impacting that family. Because we know it. I mean, I used to live in a very, not very unsanitary apartments. And I was like, why is the landlord not doing any of that? But, we didn't know. But when we provide a happier, safe environment for our tenants, it's a win-win. They have a happier life, and then their family. And this, all boil down to family. If we can provide anything back to them as, having school, then it's a win for the investors and a win for the tenants. Right.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, you're throwing a lot at us, Huyen Do, or Huyen.
That is my name, Huyen Do. Window to the opportunity. Yes.
I love your comment on syndication. We are coming up on our next break, but syndication is really just partnership. It's working together. It's leveraging our abilities. We do that as a cost reduction firm. We're able to come in and lower costs for clients because we know what to look for. We know who to go to and how to ask for it. But one of the biggest pieces is we have the collective buying power of all of our clients, right? Some of whom are public companies and large universities and, cities and so forth. Together, we just can do more. And so I want to come back and talk a little bit more about that, but we are going to go to break. Let's continue the conversation. We're talking to Huyen Do, one of the partners in DROX Investment Group, a real estate investment group in Houston, Texas, with hundreds of millions of dollars of properties in over 2,000 units. That's incredible. So we'll be right back, guys. We've got a few more minutes left in the show here, but hang tight and we'll continue the conversation.
Get the news on our shows and other happenings by following us on Twitter. Find us at VoiceAmericaTRN or twitter.com/VoiceAmericaTRN.
Certainty Management can help create more certainty in your life with our deep discount health insurance options, even for 1099s, part-time employees, volunteers, and more. Pay less to protect yourself, your loved ones, and your team. Call 888-684-3122 for a free quote today. That's 888-684-3122. Visit us on the web at CertaintyTeam.com. That's Certainty, TEAM, like Mary.com.
Have you friended us on Facebook yet? Why not? Just go to facebook.com/Voice America or search for the keywords Voice America. Once you are part of our Facebook network, you'll receive daily messages about what's happening with our shows, this week's featured guests, and new happenings at the Voice America Talk Radio Network. And you can add your voice to the always active discussions on our timeline. Just go to facebook.com/Voice America or search for Voice America.
Small businesses are in trouble, and it didn't just start with COVID-19. From the recession several years ago to the revolution of e-commerce giants more recently, small businesses are getting hit hard and need to come back. Tune in to Business Buzz and Business Watch. It's 2 shows in one, hosted by Frank Hellring. We'll help your small business bounce back with best practices, guest experts, and resources that you can use to strengthen your small business. Listen Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern on Voice America Business.
If you're a nonprofit in need of funding, we can help. Certainty Management is a cost reduction firm that also helps churches, schools, sports teams, and other nonprofits raise unlimited zero-cost funding. Best of all, you don't have to sell anything or ask for donations. Call 888-684-3122 to learn more today. That's 888-684-3122. Visit us on the web at CertaintyTeam.com. That's Certainty, TEAM, like Mary.com.
You are listening to Finding Certainty with Patrick Laing. Have a question for Patrick or his guests? Join us on the show at 866-472-5790. That's 866-472-5790. Now, back to the show with Patrick.
You're back with Finding Certainty. I'm your host, Patrick Laing. We're speaking with Huyen Do, who is one of the 2 founders and partners of DROX Investment Group. Huyen, thanks again for being with us. I know you have multiple investors in your group. Are you and Donnie the only 2 owners of the group, or are there others as well?
So we are part of a syndication. So a syndication for every project, we bring in investors. And investors are co-owners into the projects as well. So depending on the varying size, our strategy is when we have, typically it's 100 unit plus. So it may be like $25 million or more. Then, depending on that size of the projects and various amount of investors. And the investor they are co-owners of the apartments.
So, you talked about the type of investors you typically are working with, and I think there's millions of bankers and lawyers and doctors and accountants and others that are out there. And you're absolutely right. They're busy. They're busy with their profession, their practice, or their business. And yet so many of them want to diversify, right? They want to do exactly what you've done. They want to develop passive income. I'm one of those who would love to have, I'm a big believer in multiple streams of income. And so a couple quick questions. What's the minimum investments for someone to participate in one of your projects? And what's the kind of ROI do you expect? Do you have a 3-year plan, 5-year plan? What's the expectation there?
Okay, so the minimum investment that typically our project is $75,000. And I say this to everyone. When you invest in something, even in stocks or in real estate, that should not be your emergency money. Because your emergency money should be your emergency, right? That's why we call emergency. For investment is the money that you will not going to need it for doing emergency. So our projects, real estate is you don't get rich, fast, right? Not next month, not next year. So real estate is when you buy, you hold. Typically, the project's hold is around 5 years, and we see that is because we can, based on the exit strategy, our return is high return. The returns all vary, but once we meet that returns that we projected, we can sell in 2 years, right, or 3 years, or we will hold it until if the market is, down, then we're not going to sell for 3 or 5 years, right? We may hold to 6 or 7 years. So when you do any investment, the key thing is talk to the sponsors, understand the project life cycle, and then see if it actually meets your financial goals.
Absolutely. I've done a little bit of real estate investing in the past, nothing like what you have, but obviously some of the wealthiest people in the world have built their portfolios, their really their net worth with real estate. I think the top investors from the Rockefellers on to today, right? They all had holdings in real estate. It's one of the most secure investments, right? And I love the fact, I want to just address in a little bit more deeper what you were saying about community, because there are slumlords out there, right, who don't care about the quality of the place their people are living in. And you can't get your landlord to come fix your air conditioning or your hot water or something to save your life. But it's so refreshing to hear you talk about giving families a secure and a safe and a healthy home. And I'm not surprised you're doing well, because when you put good out there into the universe, it comes back to you tenfold, right? And you're coming from experience. You lived in places like that where the ceiling was dripping and there were cockroaches and who knows what else. But so you don't want others to have to experience that. And I think that it speaks volumes, Huyen, about how you approach your business, and I think one of the reasons why it's going so well. Any insights on that topic?
Yes, is basically do what you love. And for me is, and Donnie, when we came to America, we know we have already experienced it, and it just hurt us to actually see other experience as well. So we will do our utmost, what we can, in order to help people, the community that doesn't have to suffer or went through the way we went through. And same to you, like Patrick, right? You went through, and that's how I love your vision of finding certainty, is because now you're helping, profit and nonprofit organization together in order to make that. And that's why I'm so happy to be on this show, because I love that mission of yours, Patrick. But because you went through it, right? And you want to help, and you truly want to do that. So same what we do is in order for us to, because when we go into those community, we want to, we talk to the tenant, we ask them, how can we make this a better place for you? How can we make this a better place for you and your family? So you can be feeling happier to save here, and always get those feedback from the tenant in order to improve our strategy and improve their life.
right?
Yeah.
It's probably the first time they've been asked that question. They're probably surprised when you do, right?
Yes, they were. They're like, what? You guys asked our feedback, not telling us you're always paying rent? And
Right.
yes.
I love that because, and I'm sure what it makes for is really loyal tenants and tenants who really care. They try to pay their rent on time. Sure, there's always going to be issues or someone loses their job or something like that. But, when you take care of people, whether they're your investors, your tenants, your employees, it comes back to you. People remember that and it creates loyalty. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir, right? Everybody knows this, but I think sometimes we forget the value of going that extra mile.
Yes.
It doesn't take a lot, right? I remember we were in New Orleans once. We were getting ready to go on a cruise, and I'd won a sales trip, right, from one of my jobs, and we got into New Orleans early, and we were hungry. I mean, I think our red eye flight got there about 5 a.m. or something. And we went to this little pancake house that was packed. And there was another one down the street that was not so busy. And we thought, well, we got time. Let's go to the one that's busy. They probably have better food. And so we stood in line for a while, finally sat down. And we met the owner who was, I forget his name, but he was so gregarious and just outgoing. He talked to us, asked us where we're from and everything. And I said, well, it's clear why he's doing well, because he's just awesome. But I also asked him, I said, do you mind if I ask why your restaurant is so much busier than the one down the street 2 or 3 blocks? Because you look like you're about the same thing. We even looked at the menus. They were almost identical. And he looks all conspiratorial, and he looks around and he says, if I tell you, will you keep it to yourself? I said, that's okay. I'm getting on a cruise in 2 hours. I won't tell anybody. And he leans in and he says, it's the 3rd egg. Like, what are you talking about? He goes,
I know what's that.
He goes, we give 3 eggs, hash browns and bacon, and they only do 2 eggs, hash browns. And I've always remembered the 3rd egg story, right? Because it doesn't even take big things. Now, I'm sure it was more than that. I mean, he was a big part of it. He made people feel welcome. He was friendly, it was a joy to be with. But it's a good example of, for years, I've taught my salespeople this, I'd write the word W0W or WOW on the wall or on the board and say, how do we wow our customers, right? How do we wow them? Mm. And I'd flip it over and write WOM and say, how do we get word of mouth business? How do we get more referrals? Well, we do it by wowing our customers. And I'd always share with them that 3rd egg story, because it doesn't take a lot. People are expecting you to disappoint them, right? They're expecting you to not give anything special. And when you do, you absolutely stand out. So kudos, Huyen, for how you're doing that. That's really cool.
Yes.
Okay, so in the last few minutes here, I'd love to have you share any lessons that you've learned. Because, to have 2,000 plus units and growing, $280 million investment, that is nothing to sneeze at. To be caring for the communities that you're doing, that is it's really impressive. And my hat is off to you. But what lessons have you learned in the process? Anything else you want to share?
There are many lessons, but with time, let's focus on with any type of investment, right? Or you want to work with any company, is know who you trust. It's a very key important. And, looking at that company, what are their vision and what's their mission? And, same like Patrick, is you want to work with the people, also an expert. Patrick, his finding certainty management group is the expert in his field. So you want to work with his company, right? So it's all about the sponsor, the leadership. So because I see any risk in investment, we always have risk. But what's the highest risk? I mean, this is real estate. The location will be there, right? It's the sponsor. Know the sponsors and see what do are you you as an investor, do you align with the mission and vision? So that's the first learning I see. I want to share. And then second learning is, like I say, do what you have. You don't need to go and be thinking that you need to be, getting a PhD or have how much money you have. But, just start with what you have right now, wherever you are in your life right now, and start serving. Because people need your help, but it's about you to willing to open up and use what you have in order to provide that impact. So, and the last thing I would like to share is about, you only have one life. So live your life to the fullest. And how to do that is you have to take a step back and reflect and say, what is the most important to you? And then saying, are you actually every day, are you living in order to fulfill that, to support the most important thing in your life? Because it's easy to say, but what about your action? Does it really show it?
Right. I couldn't agree more. We, as entrepreneurs or as employees and managers and parents, we have to step back. We sometimes have to just separate ourselves a little bit from the chaos and the hustle and bustle. If it means going on a walk, if it means going on a drive, but get away where you can think and then ask yourself those important questions. Am I happy? What would I change? How would I do that? I've always taught one of the most important questions we can ask is, what else can I do? And sometimes that's, I need help. It's not being a victim to ask for help. Or you're a great example of this. You guys came to the United States, and you could have been victims and just stayed in the system and lived off food stamps forever and been, survived by welfare. And you said, no, that's not sufficient for us. We want more. What else can we do? And so you have to keep asking that question. And I love what you said about serving others, Huyen, because so often we think, what's in it for me? How can I make money, right? And yet any smart investor, any wise business owner has learned the value of serving others first. And when you do that, it comes back to you 1,000-fold, right? Exactly. Just last week, I've talked about this, but we were invited to come out to Liberty University and speak to this big CEO summit, about 2,500 CEOs. And I was asked to speak on our topic, which we refer to as profit with purpose. And I talked about how when we made the decision to pivot and do more than just make income, but try to make a difference, and we started to use our expertise to help nonprofits raise money, everything changed, right? We started seeing doors and windows open. We were invited to events and invited to speak and people like you and, et cetera, et cetera. But that was the turning point for us. And I do believe that it is almost a karmic event where good things happen. When you try to do good, good follows. You're a great example of that, Huyen.
Thank you.
Any last anything just in closing you'd like to share? And then also, if you would share how people can get a hold of you if they're interested in diversifying, earning some of that passive income that I think we'd all love to enjoy.
Good. Thank you so much, Patrick, for having me today on the call, on the podcast. And of course, if you want to reach out to me just to want to learn more about real estate investing, on how to learn passive income, because our deal is not always, there. We're very selective in our deals. And if you want to be on the email list, reach us out at DROX, DROX Investment Group. Again, DROX, DROX Investment Group.com, and sign up on our contact list to be, receiving our upcoming investment. And again, thank you so much, Patrick.
You're most welcome. And we didn't talk about this earlier, but DROX is actually a blend of dragon and ox, right? It's from the
Zodiac.
It's from the Zodiac, but wasn't it one of your children that came up with it? Yeah, I love that.
Yes, they say one is fire, strong, and ox is actually very hardworking. Dragon is more mindset. So, our kid, a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old, came up with a name, and apartments are our baby. So they name it, and we accept it.
That's fantastic. I love the name. Appreciate you, Huyen. Thanks for being on the show and for everything you've shared. You're very inspiring. It's my pleasure to know you. And everybody, again, if you'd like to know more, please reach out to Huyen and Donnie. Learn how you can be a part of this. They'd be happy to answer your questions. Coming up on our next show, we've got a fantastic guest. We're very excited to hear from a good friend of mine who is he is one of the most they are one of the most impressive couples I've met. They own a company called Destiny 508. Todd and Tamara, they will help you set up your nonprofit, whether it's a church or something else. But they'll show you how to do that. If you too want to give back, if you would like to have more purpose in your own life, listen into our show next Friday. And Todd and Tamara can tell you how to do that. And it'll be a fun conversation. So thanks again, everybody. Huyen, we appreciate you.
My pleasure. My pleasure, Patrick. Thanks.
All right. Bye for now, guys. Thanks.
Thanks for tuning into today's episode of Finding Certainty. We hope you've gained some more insight into how to create more certainty in your own business or nonprofit. Join us next week for another taste of the Certainty Experience. Until then, we wish you greater certainty in all that you do.